Hey, dogs. Should we make a video today for all the nice people? What do you think? Should we? Okay, we will. Hey, what's happening, guys? Back in November of 2019, did a video building an AM/FM radio kit from this company, Vogurtime. And if you look up there in the corner, you can see a little clip of that video. Well, they contacted me about a month or so ago and said they had upgraded their AM/FM radio kit. And they sent me one. So I thought we could take a look at it today and put it together. I haven't opened this box yet, so we're going to have a look together. I did slice the tape, though. Because one of the things that impressed me most about the last kit was how well organized everything was. The little trays. It looks like they switched from trays to bags, but that's fine. So let's open up the old bag here. See what we got. All right. No, it says Vogurtime. It was Vogurtime. Yeah, see? Vogurtime. Vogurtime. So the last one was black. This one's blue. Not that that matters in the slightest. Principal overview. The radio circuit is composed of an SI4836, which is radio receiver chip, and an LM4863, which is an amplifier. So basically, they've done everything in chips, and they've simply just given you some resistors and capacitors to solder on. Let's see what we got here. Open up the manual. There is our schematic diagram for those of you so inclined. Component and parts list. Resistor codes. How to read resistor codes. And some instructions, which we'll get to. Alright, so parts is parts. Here is our antenna, which is basically a ferrite rod wrapped with, copper wire. There are a specific number of turns on here to access the frequencies. That will be our AM antenna. That's amplitude modulation. Okay, so here's the board. It's made to look like a little boom box, which is nice. There's the amplifier. I guess that is where we'll be attaching. Wait a minute. Okay, that's the receiver chip. That's the amplifier. I was backwards. Nice thick board too. All right, what's in this package? We have a 3 AA holder, USB to 2.1 millimeter barrel jack, and an expandable, collapsible FM antenna. And the next package, and this is the final package, this should be all the rest of our components. Very nice. They have all the resistors on this card. They tell you what the value is, and they show you the code for it. Nicely done. Hardware kit. We got 3 electrolytics, 2 slide switches, 3 millimeter red LED, and a 2.1 millimeter barrel jack. We have IC, diode, inductor, some little ceramic capacitors. Here are our 2 speakers with wire. And our potentiometers with their nice caps on them. Very nice. So step 1 in the instructions, which I would do anyway, is to start with the lowest components on the board. And those are the resistors. Bring my soldering stand in here. Get it all nice and adjusted. This is one of my favorite things that was ever sent. You know, I spent years using the little helping hands thing. This is wonderful. You can just position it as you like. Alrighty then. Let's find our resistors. Pardon the wobble. Where is R1? There we have R1, R2, R3, and R4. So let's start with them. R1 is a 113K, which is a bit of an odd value. Not a standard value, but that's fine. So in goes R1. R2 is the same, 113K. It's like brown, brown, orange, orange. There we go. R3. Oh, that was R9. Ruh-roh, Chaggy. How many of you were yelling at me while I was doing that? Put your hands up. Why would they put R9? That's, well, Vogurtime or Vigortime, if you're listening. Might want to correct that on your card. Now R3 is 191K.
All right, hey, today while we're doing this, I'd like to give a special shout out to the guys on the 8th floor of Litchfield Tower C at the University of Pittsburgh down there in Oakland, especially Parker, Yaya, Gideon, Victor. Also, not in floor 8 of Litchfield, but Bryant and Cass.
And right next to it, there's R10. So we're going to throw it in 20K. Then we'll solder them up. So I'm going to solder one of each leg on here. Then we'll make sure they're sitting flush, and we'll do the other leg. The problem is the camera's in the way, so it makes it just a little tricky. All right, so now I'll go back through, make sure they're sitting how I want them to. All looking pretty good. And we can solder in the other side. Then once I do this, I'll do all the other capacitors off camera. Resistors off camera. You don't need to watch me do all the resistors. They're pretty much all done exactly like this. Good deal. All right, so we've got all the resistors in. And if you remember earlier when we were starting this, I thought R1, R9, that's kind of weird. No, maybe they did it because of this. There's R1, R2, there's R9. I guess they're in a row. That's why they decided to do that. That's my guess anyway. All right, we're going to start on the next thing, but first I want to give you a little sneak preview of what's coming up here this week. Check this out over here. Ready? Ooh, pretty. All right, next we got an LED. Long leg positive. A sticker in there. Like so. So, everybody's been in the path of Hurricane Ian. Oh man, I don't even know what to say. You're in my thoughts, praying for you. I mean, what the hell good does that do? But I'm thinking about you guys, and I hope everyone's okay. Nature does not play. All right, LED is in. Now capacitors, electrolytic capacitors. The stripe equates to negative. Also the short leg, white spot. These are 470 microfarads. So they're pretty big. If we go and grab the schematic here, have a look at it. So here we come from the power, through the switch, resistor going into there. Yeah, so we've got this coming off the amplifier. There's a 470 there. Yeah, that's the power rail. So that's in between the power rail there. So that's for filtering. Where's the other one? I'm sure I'm missing it somewhere. So there's one. There's the other one. No, that's a 47. These are both 470, right? 470, 470. So there's one. Oh, there it is. And that's coming out of ground. Here's some ground, positive ground. Yeah. So that's another filter capacitor. So the big ones are power filter capacitor, which is kind of what I thought, but I just wanted to verify that that's what they were using those guys for. So I can feel them flopping around there. So all I'm going to do is just reach underneath the board, press it up while I still have the soldering iron on it, and then pull the soldering iron off. And that will hold it nice in place against the board. And I'll do the same thing with this one. Good. Now they're mounted nice and flat. And we'll solder up the other leg. And trim them off. Try not to cut your solder mountain or solder Hershey Kiss or whatever when you cut the legs off. All right, so now we have one more. This is a 47. Yeah, 16 volt 47, and it goes up here like so. Same technique. Just keeps everything nice and flush and neat. All right, now I have these two switches. This is the AM/FM switch, and this is the power switch. We'll just use a little bit of the old blue tack to hold them in place. I'll just do one at a time. And again, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to start right here. Then hold it with my finger while the solder dries or cools, or whatever you want to call it. And now I know it's in good. And I can solder up the other ones. Whoops. My iron slipped. So there's the first one. I'll do the other one off camera. All right, let's add in some of the ceramic monolithic capacitors. Here's C1, which is a 20 picofarad. C4 is a 474. I'm trying to make it look neat. All right, I'm gonna get these in. I'll be right back. All right, let's get these last ones soldered in here. Get you a decent little close-up look at the work. This is a new angle to do this from me. I've never tried to solder from this angle before. One of the things you don't really get unless you've done it is soldering through an LCD camera screen. It's interesting because you have no depth perception. So if you ever see me like fumbling around a little bit and like I'm looking for something and I can't find it, I'm trying to find the distance because I can't tell through the screen. It's really weird, and it took me a bit to get used to it. But we've been doing this since 2016, and I think I've gotten a little better at it. I was trimming the legs off, and the project bit back. There is blood. Now it's on. All right, we are running out of components to put in here. So next we have a diode. We'll get it soldered in. And we'll take a look on the schematic and see where in the circuit are they using the diode. Are they using it as a rectifier, as a one-way valve, so to speak? Or are they using it as a detector, which is basically the same thing, just at different frequencies? But yeah, I'm just curious as to where in the circuit. So let's get it out. ¿Dónde está el diode? I don't know what the Spanish word for diode is. The diode right here is being used for polarity protection, you see. If you were to hook up the battery backwards, it won't pump the current through the circuit because, of course, the diode is the one-way valve. So the next thing we're going to put in is our crystal right here. And we already put in those two parallel 20 picofarad capacitors that are needed to stabilize the crystal. And they are going to the radio receiver here, and you see XTAL0 and XTAL1. Now, I don't believe this is being used in the tuning of the radio because this frequency printed right here, let me zoom in so you can see it. There we go. 32,768 kilohertz is a clock frequency. I don't remember the exact breakdown, but that is the frequency used in watches and clocks. So I wonder if that's just being used like a driver to pulse that chip. There's our crystal. It's unpolarized, of course, so you could put it in any direction you like. These are smaller pads, so going in with a nice clean iron. A little tiny bit of solder on there for thermal dissipation, and then just get them in there nice and neat. And yes, sir, it actually, oh, you didn't get to see that, did you? Where the heck did it go? Oh, right there. Yes, there actually is a piece of crystal in there that vibrates. It is shaved. I don't know if shave is the right word. It is somehow hewed and shaped to vibrate specifically. All right, we have next an inductor. And where are they using that particular inductor in this circuit? All right, that particular inductor, L1, is part of the FM antenna tuning circuit. So there's our inductor. And you know, they look pretty much like resistors, except they are usually green. Also, they have like a waist to them. But at a quick glance, you could easily mistake an inductor for resistor. Like you'll see this when I put this in. All right. Yeah. There's your inductor. There's your resistor. And they are very similar looking. So, yeah, keep that in mind. Keep an eye out. Let me get this soldered on here real quick. I think our next step is putting the speakers in. Or no, you know what? I'm gonna put the chip holder on there first. Locate the notch. Align the notches. Get that guy to sit in there like that, and then we'll grab our blue tack. In the U.S., this is usually sold like for hanging posters, and you know, probably 3M probably owns it too. I believe in the UK you guys call it blue tack. All right. So we'll get this holder soldered on here, and then we'll be back to see what's next. All right, you would think that putting in a screw and a nut and a little holder thing would not be that difficult, but it is. So this is the way I figured out to do it. Screw goes through the front side of the board, and then the clip goes on like so. Nope, that one's backwards. Like so. And then start to thread the nut on. Then we're just going to flip it a little bit like this. Make sure these are out of the way. Put our speaker on. And the speaker connections are going to point towards there. And then we're going to hopefully rotate those up like this. I have to move that a little bit. And I didn't have that one screwed in enough, so it just fell out. That's fine. Yep, that's fine. All right, let's try the other speaker. That took a while. So what you gotta do is get these up and over. And they are springy. So they will spring, but the problem is they tend to get stuck under the lip, and then they don't want to move. They will go. It'll just take more patience than I usually have. Oh yeah, fun. This ain't my thing. It took me as long to get those speakers mounted than it did to solder everything that we've got to up to this point. Vogurtime, this is not the way to mount speakers. I mean, I'm sure it's probably fine in some circumstances, but for people who are just learning to solder and build kits and things of that nature, that's horribly frustrating. You almost really need 2 people to put something like that together. Good thing I turned the camera off. I think I was inventing new curses. Good. Now, let me put a little bit of a... All right, so the speakers are mounted, they're soldered. And if you're wondering why I did that instead of the potentiometers, well, that's what the instructions said to do. It said to put the speakers on first. So I'm going to get the pots out now. We have one for tuning, and we have one for volume. So this is our volume, which is a double. And this one is our tuning. It's a single, and it is a 100K pot. Now, at least on this side, it wouldn't have really made any difference, you know, which one you did first. When I'm doing pots like this, and the electrical connection tends to be a de facto mechanical connection as well, I will tend to add a little more solder than I usually would. There's no washers, which is strange. You think they put washers in. This might help hold it in place too. I was going to put this on till later, but might make the soldering easier. Yeah, I should have thought of that. No worries though. We'll get these guys soldered in here. This looks like a ground, so I'm going to go ahead and solder this one as well. So I can get my solder untangled. Sometimes. Yeah, that looks like the case ground for the potentiometer. So I just want to make sure that it's grounded to the board. Good. I'll tighten that up later. All right, let's get the other one, and then I think all we'll have to do is put in the IC, and we should be ready to rock and roll. Or ready to country, or ready to talk show. So this is a 50K, and there are two separate sets of wipers and rings in one of these, so that's pretty cool. Basically 2 potentiometers, 1 case. You can also get these that have a power switch built into them. That's a little not wanting to go on there. One moment, please. All right, let's solder in. I'm pretty sure our last connections, this potentiometer here. In this case, is dual potentiometer. So we got 50K for volume, and what was a 500 or 100K for the, I have to look it up. But the reason they're different is you have a wide tuning range in both AM and FM. So you need more range, obviously, as opposed to volume, where you just want to, you know, turn it up, turn it down. They give us some nice knobs here. I'll make sure these are all rotated down, and then I'm going to line up the notch here with the, you know, the line in that pot. You don't have to do it that way. Just the way I'm doing it. Okay. Power off. Switch AM. Oh, we're not done yet. We have to do the antennas. My bad. See, that's what I get for putting things aside. I totally missed them. So let's start with the AM antenna. Which is, of course, the ferrite rod that's wrapped in wire. And the AM antenna mounts right there. So that's the direction that we want to mount this in, kind of this way. Now let's see how easy these are going to be to slide in here. Not easy at all. Okay. So I think what I'm going to do is put this one in first. Oh, that one's sliding right in. No problem. Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, that's what I'm going to kind of like it is. As far in there as I can. Then we'll put this one in. See if we can't bring it back. Oh! Thought I broke it. One moment. Alright, they had wrapped a heat shrink around it, and that's why I wouldn't fit through there. So I removed it. Was it the right thing to do? I don't know. But I removed it. It was annoying me. There's way too much wire here. But I don't know if all that wire is needed for antenna link, so I'm not going to cut it off. And I will never get those wires to remain there if I flip this over, so I'm going to top solder it, which is something you don't see a lot, but it is perfectly reasonable. There's one. Here's the other. Those did not solder wonderfully, so I am somewhat dubious of their. Oh yeah. Yeah, let's try and fix this. All right. It's all wired up. I've got 5 volts here. I'm going to move this over here to get closer. Hang on. Soldering iron out of the way there. Plug that in. I said we can plug that in. There we go. Power on the power supply. It's outputting 5 volts. Since it's not turned on, we're not getting anything here. All right, power on. 0.110 watts. I hear no volume. Try FM. Oh, Paul. You didn't put the chip in. My goodness. I apologize. The only excuse I have, and there really is no excuse, is I work alone and there's nobody to check my work. There's just me. I know, that is no excuse, but that's the best I can tell you. Unplug that. All right. There we go. The click that says it's in. All right, let us try this again. I want to go back to AM because just there's less chance of commercial stuff there. All right, power on. And I heard a click. 0.052 amps, 0.260 watts, 5 volts. I'm not picking up anything AM, but that doesn't surprise me. Switch over to FM. Extend the antenna. And we'll see what we get here. Nothing. Wow.
Thousand teenagers in the U.S. age out of foster care without a family. Learn how you can help at DaveThomasFoundation.org.
I'm just not in a great area to pick stuff up. I'm down in a valley, so it's hard to pick up stuff. But yes, there it is.
And you wouldn't be able to see it, taste it, or smell it. Learn more. stop overdose.
Yeah, that's great. So I'd like to thank Vogurtime for sending this out to us. I'd like to thank you for watching. Again, I'd like to say hi to the guys at Pitt. Sorry I forgot you earlier, Nolan. And yeah, that's it. Hope you guys enjoyed this. If you did, give me a thumbs up. Feel free to comment, share, and don't forget to subscribe. Big thanks to all the patrons. Big thanks to you guys in Vogurtime. That's it. I'm out. Peace.